What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday, September 27th, 2022, episode of the Daily Logs 18. And today we're going to cover US 500, what I took, what I participated in, and what ultimately unfolded from last time I spoke with you guys last night. I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I called it to an exact T. I basically gave you guys the framework on what to look for today. I was expecting lower prices. We were looking for the sell side to be taken out, and it was just a beautiful day. So I hope all of you are really taking a lot of notes, regardless if you're making money or not. This is always going to be here. So just take notes, put it in your study journals, watch it live, paper trade it, and really just get this down. So let's look at, this is my entry from today. Go over my Twitter if you want to see all the fun stuff. I post a lot of the actual chart and then a couple live profits, stuff like that. So make sure to go over there, hit the follow button. Appreciate it. But let's go over the daily chart. So what did I tell you guys last night? I told you to look at this fair value gap. It's right around the 3-minute mark. I also posted on my Twitter because it's something to note and understand why I said that. First, I said to look at the volume imbalance, and I said if we get aggressive, watch the high. All we need to do is poke a little bit above the high. And I stated that very clearly. And what did we do? We touched that. There's things that I can't necessarily teach you because I have in a contract written with ICT. There's things that he's taught me that I can't specifically teach, but I'm telling you where to look and why to look for a certain reason. So price ultimately got above that high, right into the fair value gap. We just tapped it and ran lower. It's exactly what we were looking for. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, we were looking at this fair value gap. I actually had this one marked up because I was paying attention to it just in case we were going to run into it. But we were residing inside of this 4-hour fair value gap. I noted yesterday I wanted to see this high stay intact, but coming into the New York session, we were already rallying up into it. So I said, okay, I'm still bearish on this overall. Nothing's changed. We're basically moving sideways. We're accumulating a lot of buy stops. We ran out the buy stops here right at the open of today, which was amazing to see. So right at, I believe if you go down to like a 15-minute, yeah, right at the open. So let me zoom out to 1 hour. I'm actually like, this is intriguing me right now, how price is moving during this session right now. We're gonna definitely attack the sell side here. So watch that while we are going over this recording. So 3606, we're probably going to take out the sell side there. And then let me look at the weekly chart here. What are we doing? We're aiming towards this fair value gap. Right now, guys, I would keep your risk very low. I've met my target for the week. So I'm going to really probably be paper trading or just not even trading at all. I already made my money. That's just a little side note. But while we're sitting here on this video, watch this level here and see how price reacts to it. Probably slice through it like butter. Anyways, looking at it, nothing's changed, right? We were still bearish overall, and we're just waiting for the model. It was literally like 2 times. Like yesterday happened. Yesterday, the exact same model unfolded today. Actually, today was a little less clean to me, and I'll explain why. But if you go down to the 5-minute, we were watching the buy side liquidity here, and if you were on ICT's Twitter, he was noting this fair value gap here on the 5-minute. So this is a reclaim fair value gap. I wasn't so much paying attention to this fair value gap. I was just watching the buy side liquidity here, and I was watching how we traded away from it. There's a couple SMT factors I will note later on in the video, but we went ahead and punched above that. And that's a nice little sweep. It doesn't need to be this huge purge above it. All you need is just a little bit above, and it's above these relative equal highs here, the high here, and we displaced lower. Now looking at the 5-minute, there wasn't anything super clean, but if you guys know and been following along, I shuffle through the 5 through the 1-minute, and I'm just looking for that entry after we run out buy stops. So going down to a 1 minute, this is what I was paying attention to. We had news at 9 a.m. my time, and that was a huge indication for me, especially this was 5 minutes before the news. There was two news drivers to note, but the bigger one was actually at 9 a.m. That's the reason why price ultimately dumped the way it did. But I went ahead and was watching this fair value gap here. If you look at the 2 minute, there was a fair value gap from this low here to that high here. We had our nice displacement lower. If you're looking at the 1 minute time frame, you can clearly see a market structure shift. It's not here, it's here. So this was our swing low here, and see how this is a energetic displacement. That's really nice. Just nice two down close candles, leaves a nice fair value gap in here. And the next thing I was waiting for was the premium. So I wasn't going to enter into the 25% like I did yesterday because I'm looking for a premium. And if you look at my entry, it's actually just above the equilibrium. And that's just being a strict rule abider. You set out these rules to protect yourself and to help you make money. And if you constantly just keep breaking your own rules, how do you ever expect to make money in these markets? And I know it's not that easy because it has to do with emotions. Like obviously you want to follow your own rules and you don't want to FOMO into a trade, which is again why I speak so heavily on your psychology. You can know these concepts, you can understand this model as simple as it is and easy to literally execute every single day. But if you're FOMOing into trades, if you're not following your rules, then none of this even matters, right? So follow your rules. It's very simplistic. It's all about just having that self-discipline. So I watched price get above here, and I was just shuffling through the 1 through 5 minute and waiting for that nice displacement, waiting for that fair value gap, waited for the nice premium. I set my limit and I got triggered into it. And I was actually taking partials beneath the lows here. So I took about 75% of my position off, I believe, right around here. And I left 25% running, which actually slightly annoyed me because I put my stops to break even. I was like, probably one of the best entries I've had. I was really looking for the sell side. If you look at my Twitter, I said I'm leaving a partial running and I was targeting 36.47, I believe, or 36.43 I mentioned. And I was targeting that because I knew ultimately we were going to attack that previous week low and the relative equal lows resting underneath there. But that just happens sometimes. And am I angry or frustrated that I missed this move ultimately, like the overall move? No, not at all. I couldn't care less. Why? Because I made more money than what I would ever make in my job and in 2 weeks and a month. So it just gives you a perspective, and taking partials and being a good money management, being a professional about this. And that's what my rules are as well. If you look at my rules and what I've always been saying, I'm usually taking out partials along the way and I'm always targeting 2 to 3R. And if I can leave a runner on to go for 40, 50, 60 points, whatever, that's just for, bonus points. But here, the reason I'm mentioning this, so I took out partial, I believe, somewhere in here, around 15 points, and I took a partial down here. So I was already up almost close to 30 points. That's more than I really even need. The reason I'm mentioning this is because my old self would be trying to hold this thing. I would have moved my stop loss to break even after being up 30 points. I would have watched price come all the way back to my break even, hit my break even, and then rally 60 points to my ultimate target. And then I'm inside of here FOMOing, trying to chase this thing, and I'm probably end up getting stopped out for some whatever reason. So it through time and lessons, you can either learn yourself through it, through fire by taking these losses, or you can just learn from my experience through other traders' experiences and just understand. I'm not saying this because I don't want you to make money. Like, this is how you make money. You take partials, you protect yourself, you protect your entry, and then you move along. Like, I could have came in here after and probably entered in a few more times and try to, obviously squeeze the most out of the day, but what's the point? I'm adding more risk to myself. You know, the more times you enter into the market, and the more times you put your account into the market, the more times it's at risk to take a loss. So I like to keep as few trades as much as possible. Looking at what I was paying attention to, when I was in the trade and already took some partials out, I was really looking at this fair value gap here. I wanted price to really respect this and just drive lower. But ultimately, we came back up. If you look at, I believe, the 15-minute, this is your bearish order block. We came up right into the equilibrium of this. So beautifully respected the equilibrium of that order block here. And if you actually do from this dealing range high down to the dealing range low, we are inside of a premium. So that's actually a pretty nice short. There just wasn't any nice fair value gaps on like even a 5-minute. And the reasoning why you wouldn't go short on this fair value gap here is because you're looking at this dealing range. From this dealing range high to dealing range low. Is this fair value gap in a premium? No, it's inside of a discount, which is not good for shorting. I actually really wanted to see price come into this fair value gap here, but this just acted as a breakaway gap, which if you do see those being left open, probably means price is in a hurry to get somewhere. I believe on the 3-minute, this is another example of a reclaimed fair value gap. So beautifully tapped right back into it and then displaced lower. Looking at the rest of the day, there's nothing too exciting to note. We just ultimately declined lower. Maybe 15-minute. I mean, I think this was like the last couple hours here. We retraced back into this fair value gap. I think the 1 hour, we retraced back into this fair value gap here. A 4-hour fair value gap here, touched above the high, and then ran lower. So all these different confluences, we also we were residing inside of this reclaimed fair value gap. Usually, typically, I don't really like to see price use a reclaimed fair value gap more than 2 times. The third time, I'm not really even paying much attention to it. But the main takeaway from today is follow your system, follow your rules, and this will all play out perfectly for you. You know, it's very cool for me to sit here and teach this to some level because I used to be just like any of you out there who are struggling. You know, I have plenty of you who are messaging me saying, you know, I see it, but I'm not getting it. You know, I'm not consistently profitable yet, but I see it. I'm almost there. And that's the right mindset. That's the proper mindset to have because you just have to keep telling yourself, and people will call this delusion or whatever, but to me, it's being optimistic. It's telling yourself over and over again, no matter how many losses you take, no matter how long, how many years, how many months, how many, you know, hours you put into this craft, one day you're going to make it. One day you are going to be able to do this at a very high level, at a very high professional level. But it all comes down to work ethic and discipline. That's one thing I pride myself on is I will outwork anybody. And you should have the same mindset as well. I will outwork anybody in this industry. I will eventually be one of the best traders in the entire industry. And I put my life on that because I know deep down I am one of the best in this industry. And that's not coming from an egotistical standpoint. It's just having confidence because there's going to be times when you doubt yourself. And I've done it plenty of times. But if you keep prevailing, you keep persistent, you're going to make it. Trust me. So that's probably going to be it for me tonight, guys. I can go on a rant. From me for tomorrow and the rest of the week, like I said, pay attention to this weekly fair value gap here. Pay attention to some of these weekly lows. I think we can maybe get some speed down underneath. I don't see any long opportunities. Just keeping short. We may have a couple days of retracement, but besides that, I'm looking for this sell side resting here at 35.12, and then ultimately the fair value gap here. Like I said, the weekly order blocks down here. 4-hour time frame. You guys can go ahead and note this on your charts as well. 36.07 is sell side. And then 35.46 is sell side as well. So that's all I have for tonight, guys. Until tomorrow, good luck and good trading.